Hi everyone. This week we're going to be working with lessons 15 and 16. They both have to do with about the same thing. It is kind of a silly name, I think, but we're reading expressions in which letters stand for numbers, which means they're variables. Mostly we're working with vocabulary, which is why you had to do a crossword with some vocabulary words. So I want you to take a minute to look at this diagram, and if you haven't done so already, from the slides that told you to write it down, this is the same one that's on the slides. I would like you to go ahead and do it now. It's also located on slide 3. It was what you were supposed to do yesterday, but you may not all have done that. So if you did not, pause it now and write it on paper, because you are going to need this to do this week's work. This is all about vocabulary, and I'm not testing you on this vocabulary right now. I don't feel the need to do that, but you do need to know it. So please make sure it's written down. If I help anybody out this week on this week's work, the first I'm going to ask you on a Google Meet is to show me your work. I'm going to ask you to show me this paper with this written on it. So I think I've explained that pretty clearly. Let's move on. So this week we're going to write expression using words. And when you do the practice assessments for today, there's 2 for today and 1 for tomorrow, or 1 for today and 2 for tomorrow. I don't remember. But there'll be assessments on there. And this is all you have to do, is whatever we're doing today. Write an expression using words. Okay, you don't have to do anything else. The second one for tomorrow, or the third one, I don't know. When you see it on the Google Slides, you'll figure it out. But for lesson 16, it's a little more complicated, but not a lot. And basically, if you know how to do the vocabulary, then you'll be fine. Okay, yeah, there are 2 for today in addition to this lesson, and then 1 for tomorrow. So I'm going to try and make this lesson. Another way that we can write this, though, is, and I'm going to fix that A to make it a little a lowercase a, but another way that we can say this is using the word difference, because difference, if you look back here, is part of our subtraction. So we can use the word difference as one of our cool vocabulary words. This is what you do when you want to encourage, enhance, and make your vocabulary words even stronger. So we could say the difference of A and B. We could also say A is decreased by B. So let me write both those down. Okay, what we have here is, I went on to add another one. So we have A minus B, the difference of A and B, and A decreased by B. But I added B subtracted from A, which is what we tend to say wrong when we're saying it. B is the one that's being subtracted from A. So keep an eye on that, okay? B is subtracted from A. Okay, so let's look at the next one. The next one is the letters X and Y next to each other. Well, if we look back here, we remember that it is multiplication, so we can use any one of these words. We can use multiply, which is more than likely what we'll use. We can use times, and we can probably use product. So let's see how we can say this one. So here they all are. We can say X times Y. I should put an S in there. X multiplied by Y, the product of X and Y. Okay, so, and this is pretty much what we're doing this week for lesson 15, and then for lesson 16, it's just getting used to these vocabulary words. All right, let's go on and let's do some more over here. So here we have 4F plus P, and there are a few ways that we can say that. So let's go over what some of them are. One way is the way that we all generally talk about it, which is 4 times F plus P. So that's the first way we're going to write. Another way we can talk about it is P being added, P added to the product of 4 and F. The last way we could say it is the sum of 4 multiplied by F and P. So we put the sum first, and then we say of 4 multiplied by F, and then the p is what's getting added at the end. That one's a little bit more crazy. I'm not even going to bother putting that one in right now. Let's go on down to the next one. D minus b to the third power. Now, if you remember looking back over here, we have, under exponents, we have the power, which is what I just said. We have squared, which means raised to the power of 2, and cubed means raised to the power of 3. If you haven't written that down, you probably want to do that on your paper so that you don't forget what those words mean. Okay, let's go back. So I don't know why they put D and B together. I'm not sure I would have done that myself, but since they did, we'll work with it. Okay, so the one way that we can say this is the way we see it. D minus B, I'm going to say B cubed because I like that word. Now another way we can say it is the difference of D and the quantity B to the third power, because the reason why we use the word quantity is because B is being raised to the third power, so that makes it a whole nother operation right there, the fact of it being raised. Remember that raised to the third power means B times B times B. So that's why we call it the quantity of. Okay, the difference of D and the quantity B to the third power. That was a lot. All right, E is very challenging, but we can do this. There's a few ways we could say this. We could say that we start with adding H. So we can say that we add H to the product, because this is multiplication, so that means product, of 5 and the difference, because here's difference right here. The difference means subtraction of U and 15. All right, so that's complicated, but let's put that one down anyway. Again, this one might seem a bit complicated. Add H to the product of 5 and the difference of U and 10. So let's go on to another part of it. What if we said instead, just basically 5 times the quantity of U minus 10 added to H, just how we see it. Basically, it goes right across the way we see it. Okay? Here we go. So we have 5 times the quantity, and we said quantity. We said quantity because U minus 10 are in parentheses. So when we have parentheses, we want to use that word quantity. All right, so I want you to get used to that idea. The U minus 10 are the ones that are in parentheses, so we use quantity for that. So 5 times the quantity of U minus 10, and then all that is being added to H. That's literally going right across and looking at it this way. Okay? Okay, the next one is 3 with the division sign or the fraction bar, depending how you look at it, and then D plus F. So let's try this one going straight across, okay? And since it is, let's just do it that way to start with. It would very literally be 3 divided by the quantity, because there's 2 of them down, there's a whole thing down here, of D plus F. So it would be 3 divided by D plus F. That's what we did last week. So to write that in words, it'll look like this. 3 divided by the quantity of D plus F. Quantity is because we have parentheses that go around it. So when you have the parentheses, you want to use the word quantity. So if you're reading it directly across, or in this case up and down, that is fine. I would suggest when you have something like F, like this one here, that you write it this way first so that you can write it right across. And so that is fine. Now, for those of you who want to try doing something a little bit more, you could also put in this. You could say the quotient of 3 and the sum of D and F. All right, let's go on to exercise number 4. Exercise number 4, all we have to do is circle the vocabulary words that could be used to describe the given expression. So in the first one, we have 6H minus 10. Well, we look at what operations are here. We can clearly see that it is multiplication for 6H and then subtraction. That's all. For number 2, It is 5d over 6. Well, we know that 5d is a multiplication, and one of the words for multiplication, yes, is product. And then we have a divided by. We have the fraction by, which means divided by. So the word here that goes with divided by is quotient. That is correct. Okay, going on down, we have, looking at, these are the ones we've already had, or something like it. We have 5. Remember that the 5 outside the parentheses means multiply. So 5 times 2 is a multiplication. And then there's a plus sign, so that means addition. And then there's a subtraction sign, so there's also subtraction in this one. Okay? And the very last one is only a multiplication, so that's only a times. That's right, that's the one. Alright, so that one wasn't too bad. And our last page, we're going to do more of the same, where all we need to do is write an expression using words. We're not going to do anything else today except for writing an expression using words. When you get to the assessments, that's all I want you to do as well, and you only have to use one expression. Okay, the first one is 15 with the parentheses a plus c. So I'm going to have you getting used to the idea of going right across. What do you see? Well, you see 15 times, and because we have the parentheses, we have to say the quantity a plus c. So at the very basic level, I want you to be able to write that. If you can do that, then I will be a happy teacher. For those of you who want to challenge yourself and do a little bit more, we can also say 15 times the quantity of A increased by C. Lastly, we could say the product of 15 and the sum of A and C. Again, the product of 15 and the sum of A and C. Okay, let's look at number 7. Number 7 says m plus n over 5. The way we read that now is m plus n divided by 5. We certainly could do that. Okay, I went ahead and added the rest of it. All I want you to be able to do is this one, m plus n divided by 5. But for those students who are trying to challenge themselves, I want you to know you could also write the sum of m and n divided by 5, and the quotient of the total of m and n, and lastly, m plus, not v, m plus n split into 5 equal groups. Okay, let's try number 8. Number 8 says b to the third power minus 18. So if we were to read that straight across, it would be b either to the third power or cubed minus 18. So there we have b to the third power minus 18. We could also say b cubed decreased by 18. Both of those are correct. The next one is f minus d over 2, which if we read it completely, it would be f minus d divided by 2. Now, because of orders of operation, we don't really have to use parentheses because the d minus 2 would happen first. So here's how we might write that. Okay, so as you can see, the first one is f minus d divided by 2. That works absolutely fine. And if all you do is that one, then you are golden. That is fine. If you want to challenge yourself, you could also say f minus the quotient of d and 2. And then lastly, if you really want to challenge yourself, you could say d split into 2 groups and then subtract it from f. Okay, the last one is very basic. Again, if you look at this and you write it on your paper the way you'll say it, you would say u divided by x, and that would be perfectly fine. However, if you wanted to challenge yourself, you could also say the quotient, which means division, of u and x, as well as u divided into x parts. So there we have it today. This is lesson 15. It's a lot of words. As long as you have the words to go with from before, and if you remember to write them down first, you should have no problem getting the assessments done. There's probably a good number of them today, but just use the words that you know, go with what you know, and do your best. That's all I ask from you. Yeah, thanks.